Okie dokie. Right on the money, right on time. Good morning, distinguished educators, school owners, consultants, proprietors and proprietresses, and everyone related to the school business. We are so glad to have you join us this morning. My name is Olanrewaju Boyede. I'm the CEO of Clay Growth Limited. We are a software company located in Lagos, Nigeria. And this series, it's one of our school growth series, which we do periodically to support owners of school businesses, in Africa. For those of you who have been joining us in the past, you probably have, benefited from our events in the past. So we are glad to have you this morning, and we do trust that you will be having a fantastic time. Our host, our facilitator for the event, Nancy Ekwezo, is already on ground, and it promises to be a fantastic time. Today's session, as we promised, is on how to build a high-performance school team. How to build a high-performing school team. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I bring up to the virtual podium Nancy Ekwezo. Thank you.
Building a high-performance school team. And we're going to be looking at it from the angle of leadership, culture, and growth. So, team building is a very wide topic. I've taken it in several dimensions. I've taught the how to build gradually from day one when you meet people, from the day they're onboarded to build a team. And today we are looking at it from another dimension, which will be the angle of leadership, the angle of culture, and also the angle of growth. Okay? Like I've said, team building is a big, big thing. So the topic is building a high-performance school team. Building a high-performance school team. And at the end of this at the end of this session, I expect that we will understand the essential elements of a high-performance school team. We'll also learn how leadership directly influences team effectiveness. Because sometimes as leaders, we're like, why are my people not performing? And we complain and complain and complain. And as we're pointing fingers on them, one finger, the other four are pointing as us as leaders, because how everything happens in a team has a lot to do with your style of leadership, your understanding of leadership, your ability to build a team, actually. We'll also we'll also explore how to build and sustain a strong, positive school culture. And then we'll look at practical strategies to promote continuous growth, okay, in your school. What makes a high-performance school team? What are the things that really make, when would you say that there's high performance in the school team? Okay. Now, we already know what a team is. I'm not a very big fan of definitions. That's something you can get from Google, or from any of the AI tools that you use, maybe like ChatGPT or something, or Bard. So I'm not going to spend time, telling you what a team is. But basically, we know that a team, okay, has to do with two or more people coming together to achieve a common goal. And I would say that these days, you can check up more and more. It could be a virtual team, it could be a remote team, it could be, it could actually be a team where you meet physically. So the definition of team keeps changing according to how much has also changed in our world. There was a time when we thought of teams and it would just be everybody in one space, sharing an office. The world has gone beyond that. In fact, yesterday, someone sent, a school asked me to recruit an assistant, a virtual assistant, and the school is actually in Abuja, but they are ready to hire somebody who is basically in any other part of the country. And before now, we were not doing that. An assistant in admin had to be right there, but the position just said virtual assistant for a school, and you can imagine that the person is not there. So that's still a team. The person is still going to be a member of the team. So basically, teams achieve far more than individuals working alone. Okay? Even the good book says two are better than one, okay, because they have more reward for their labor. So teams achieve far more than individuals working alone. A great team, that is, because you can bring people together and they mess up everything. In that case, you will not say that is a high performance team. So if people are coming together and all they're doing is tearing down one another and everybody's finding faults, complaining, griping, a lot of politicking and all the things that do not help a team, we would say that that would not be a high performance school team because you cannot work with that level of toxicity to achieve high performance. Okay, so teamwork harnesses the power of diverse skills, knowledge, and perspectives, and it leads to enhanced problem solving, innovation, and overall performance. The whole idea is that when you look at your team, you should be proud of the team that you have if you belong to the team or if you're the one leading the team. And even when you're leading the team, you actually belong to the team still. Okay? So you're going to have diverse skills, knowledge, and perspectives. And teams are so interesting because without diversity, you cannot really have a great team. Sometimes as leaders, we want everybody to think like us, to behave like us, to dot the I's where we dot them. The reason you have a team is that everybody's bringing their diverse skills, their knowledge, their experience, their perspectives, and the way everybody behaves on a team has a lot to do with their level of exposure, their experience, their knowledge, how much you even know about team, being in a team and contributing to one. So, well, as we get along in this session, you're going to see that the leader has a huge role to play. In as much as everybody has a lot to contribute to the team, there's a whole lot that hinges on what the leader does. So this will lead to enhanced problem solving, innovation, and overall performance. Okay. Now let's look at the core characteristics of high performance teams. A high team that is high performing. What are the things that you're likely to notice? When you walk into a school and you see, I consult a lot for schools, and I have schools on the island, I have schools on the mainland, I have schools in Abuja, Port Harcourt, Akure, Umuahia, all over the country. And a lot of times there are so many complaints about teams. Oh, my team is not performing. Oh, my team is not doing this. It's one of the major things that we hear in consulting. My team members are not rising up to up to what I expect. They're not living up to expectation. So let's look at the characteristics of a high-performing team. There would normally be a shared mission and clear goals. Recently I visited a school, and even the school owner did not know the mission and the vision of her school. It was so funny. And I said, so if you are the owner, you have to go and look at where you wrote it on a piece of paper. How do you expect the rest of the team to understand your mission and your vision? It is impossible. If you do not know the vision and the mission and you do not live it, then there's going to be a big problem. So a great team, a high-performance team, will always have a shared vision, mission, and clear goals. They know what they are there for. Every school is there to provide education to children. But how your school does it is different because of the mix of the students, the parents, the locality where it is, whether it is a primary or secondary school, a technical school, whatever curriculum you're running. There is a shared vision and mission and clear goals. Everybody on the team understands where you're heading. Imagine on a football team where people are just, are playing and there's a goal post, but everybody on your team is now playing towards another place or kicking the ball to the bush. And they were like, oh, we're not scoring. How will you score? How are you going to achieve goals that were never set? One of the things we do in my organization is to help organizations with goal setting. We are very big on performance management. And that really helps. And when we do this, we always start with your vision and mission to understand what your school is about, how you do things in the way you do it. And then we are able to craft goals so that we have KPIs for everybody. I'm sure a lot of schools here do not even have key performance indicators for their staff. So you must have clear goals. What exactly, what is good performance in your organization? Because what is high performance in another organization might not be in your own organization. If you can hear me, please say yes. I'm imagining, I hope I'm not. Someone says I'm joining from Mumbai here, but wow, thank you. I can hear you from Kano, from Kenya, from Kaduna. Wow, amazing,
I can
amazing.
hear you,
Okay.
but the
I
volume is
can see,
low.
yes, I can hear you. All right, I just wanted to be sure so that I'm not speaking to myself, okay? Because we are actually a team today. Our aim is to make sure that everybody understands what we're doing and you're following. See, if I'm talking and you're not hearing, then it means you're not a team. I'm just doing my thing. All right, so there's a shared mission, shared vision, shared mission, shared and clear goals. You need to understand this, okay? Then there's a high level of collaboration and trust. I worked in an organization where I had to resign because the level of toxicity it wasn't even me as a leader. I couldn't, because, even as an employee, you still have your employer. And the employer has a say in how the culture is formed, what happens in the organization. So it's not enough to employ a competent school administrator, principal, or school leader. You must give them a free hand to be professional and get things done right, okay? So a high performing team would have high levels of collaboration and trust, okay? So if the level of toxicity is more than the collaboration and trust, then it calls for concern. And it's something that needs to be addressed, okay? Okay, so there's also open and effective communication. Anytime you get to a school and then you ask any of your team members, when are you closing? When is this happening? And they say, I don't know. It means there's a problem from leadership or administration. Because there must be open and effective communication about everything that matters and everything that should enable everybody to carry out their duties and responsibilities to the organization. Okay? So open and effective communication. And I can tell you this for free. Communication, poor communication, miscommunication, or lack of it can actually mess up an entire organization, no matter how beautiful the aesthetics are. Okay, it's one thing that can really mess up an organization. Then you also have strong individual accountability and responsibility, okay? And collective responsibility. There's a culture of feedback and continuous improvement. Every high performing team receives feedback. The leader receives feedback. If you work in a place where it's always the leader talking to everybody, talking at everybody, and there's no feedback to say, this is what we think, or these are the areas that we have lapses in this organization, and we need to improve. These are the areas we're struggling. Because guess what? The person at the gate man knows what happens at the gate far more than you do. And so if you sit in your office as a leader to just take decisions and dump on the people without involving those who are in those key areas, then there'll be a problem. So a culture of feedback and continuous improvement is actually one of the things that you will always find in a high-performing team. There are so many people are still joining the waiting room, and we are filled already to 100. Wow, how do we help these people? Wow. Then there's also a focus on student learning. There's a focus on student learning, okay? There's a focus on student learning. All right. So those are the characteristics. There are more, but these are basic things that you need to know about a high-performing team. And at this point, I need you to be reflecting. Do the things I have mentioned, do they happen in your organization? Are there areas that you need to improve on? Because guess what? Everything rises and falls on leadership in an organization. And we're going to focus a lot on team building from that angle. Now, if you lead a team, you would know that if you're an employee and you're asked to lead a team, maybe you're employed as a school administrator, principal, head of school, head teacher, whatever your title is, you will notice that the common challenges in school teams, which is what we're looking at right now, would normally be, admin versus academic staff. And sometimes it's as if the two sets of people do not work for the same organization. I've been to organizations where there's such a disconnect between the academic team and the support team. The reason you're called support staff is that you're there to support everything that goes on in the school. You're there to support the academic staff to make sure that everything happens properly, that learning and teaching happens to the utmost best that your school can achieve. And so slicing departments in a way that they start working against one another does not just cut it when it comes to team building. There must be communication between departments, okay? When there's a meeting of the academic team, the admin team should know what's going on there. The same with admin, knowing what goes on, admin and academics knowing what goes on in each of the various sections. You would normally also hear things like, this is how we've always done it here and we've got results. That's resistance to change. I experienced a lot of that on my last job because my job was basically about change management, helping the mindset of a particular set of people who had been there for long to start adapting to 21st century teaching and learning. And I must tell you, it was quite a journey for the 3 years that I was there. So you normally encounter a lot of resistance to change from people who do not want to embrace change. Now we're talking about technology, artificial intelligence, and all of that. There are still people on some teams who do not think that they should use artificial intelligence. You would say that they want to stay in the Rockies and they're not ready to move forward to what is going on in 2025 and beyond. And you just have to know how to manage these people on your team. Then another problem or challenge that you find in school teams will be poor communication. I had mentioned this earlier on the previous slide, that this is one thing that can mess up a school. Either no communication from the subordinates to the leaders, or from the leaders to the people that they supervise, or whatever, or even to parents or to students or whatever. And it all starts from even from the time that students parents are coming for admission. Sometimes there's such poor communication that they do not even know what they're signing up for in your school. Okay, and then it rubs off in the way your staff treat them when they come, because they too are not communicated to what the expectations are. So there must be clear expectations of goals. Communication is actually what makes an organization move. Okay, it's a core skill in leadership that you must learn if you're going to build a team. Whether you're an admin, whether you're even in the teaching academic team, communication is a must develop skill. Then we have toxic culture or cliques. I don't know how many of you have worked in a school where the school owner has itchy ears to hear everything that happens in a very unprofessional manner. Where people go to, to gossip and backbite and tear down others, just so that they can, curry cheap favor. And that is so toxic, because sometimes the people who should be rewarded for their hard work end up being the ones who are victimized. And I'm saying this from experience because I've actually experienced this in an organization. So any organization where cliques are allowed to form, we are cliques on this side, we have this cliques, and we are here to do this, we want to do it like this. That is really unhealthy. So the less cliques and the less the toxicity in your culture, the better the performance of your team. Okay, because what cliques in an organization would do for you would be that you start knocking people's heads together. And when the aim is not towards a shared vision and goal, and people are now antagonizing one another, it becomes very draining. And as a school leader, it is something you must never allow. And one of the things I'm so proud to say as an administrator is that the feedback I get from those I have led is that I do not pick favorites and I do not encourage cliques of toxic cultures in schools. And it starts by the way that you actually model this to the staff. If you're always calling people, oh, don't tell this person, or this one, come to my office later, come after school so that nobody will see you. You need to introduce all of those kind of professional things in the system. It starts rubbing off on your team. Okay, it rubs off on your team. So those are the things to take note of. Okay, another would be when there are no proper measurements, when there are no proper measurements, a lack of performance metrics. Okay, I've been to organizations where the school owners just tell you, oh, you need to perform well. But what is performing well really in your own organization? There has to be what performing well means. That brings us to performance metrics. So if your school does not have a performance management system, people are not evaluated or appraised for the work they do, then they'll be getting away with a lot of things. I've been to a school where one of the leaders in the school actually uses office hours to trade, on Forex and do stuff online. And because he was constantly on the laptop, they just thought he was working. And that would be a school where there are no performance indicators. How do you know when the principal is performing? How do you know when the HODs are performing? You have key performance indicators for them. You have goals that are set for them. So those are usually the common challenges. And people get away with a lot of things when there are no performance metrics. It means that the teacher of the year will be picked based on sentiment. There are no laid down parameters for evaluation. You do not even have an evaluation template, and that would not be nice at all. Okay, so that is it. Then when I started, I did mention that there's a strong role that the leadership of a school plays in shaping, in team building, and also shaping the culture. And we're going to look at that now. So what is the role of leadership? But before we do that, I need you to I need you to reflect on your team and tell us the biggest team challenge you have right now. Let's hear you in the comment. What's the biggest challenge you have right now on your team? Not allowing due processes as a result. I have been in this before. Okay, not allowing due process. Getting people to embrace new ideas. Collaboration issues. Oh, okay. Collaboration issues. I'm meeting the challenges that people have, that you have on your contradicting ideas. Okay. Lack of collaboration. They want to do their own thing. What feedback mechanism? Okay. Getting people to embrace new ideas. Lack of cooperation from the staff. Toxic culture and cliques. Lack of performance metrics and indicators. Clear expectations need to be set. Oh, okay. All right. That's beautiful. Okay. So you can see all of those are real issues. And when you get into a school as a school administrator, you are there and you're there to build a team that will perform really high. You are definitely going to encounter several challenges, several challenges, okay? And you have to brace up to be able to work on them. So at this point, I want to let you know that leadership is a catalyst. You're the one that brings the ginger, according to us in Nigeria. If you're not in Nigeria, to bring the ginger means that you're the one that brings the energy, the right energy to motivate and push others, not get out of their comfort zones. Okay. So the leader sets the vision, the tone, and the expectations. And that means there's a lot hanging on your shoulders to be delivered in team building. And high performance teams reflect the quality and clarity of their leadership. If there's a lot of toxicity in the system, check who the leader is. It means you're condoning things that should not be condoned. And you're probably also helping to form those cliques. Okay? So the leadership is the catalyst. You as the school administrator, you as the employer, you as the principal, you at the management top, at the board level, you are the catalyst and you set the tone, okay, for the organization. So everything that happens is going to reflect the quality and clarity of what you do. And these are leadership practices that I want us to actually get to do. And the first is vision casting. Okay, don't say it's not my business. I'm just an employee. I'm just a school administrator. If the owner is not getting it well, that's why you're there as a professional to guide, okay, to guide them and to advise, to provide professional advisory services to them. So you need to set a compelling and shared vision for excellence. At this point, how many of you know your school's vision and mission? If you know it right now, without going to grab a piece of paper, I need you to say yes. Oh, okay, people are still sharing about their challenges. Someone says over monitoring, not taking initiative. If you know your school's vision and mission, say yes and make an attempt to write the vision. Write the vision and make it clear. Okay? People are saying that Chimeze Donato says yes. Olayemi Victor says yes. I know my school vision of head. That's a take home for me. Mine is nurturing godly heritage. Okay, I'm seeing various comments. It means we are engaging. Thank you for the engagement. I love when there's engagement in my session. To build a godly generation through Christian education using Luke 5:52 as a model. Okay, they are still learning to be professional. Okay, Augustina. Okay, Augustina, thank you for being here. Thank you. And thanks for the gift you sent to me. Everybody loves it. I don't know it without looking at the poster. Let me be sincere. You see there? So this is a wake-up call to you as a school leader, as an employee, as an employer, okay? Make sure you know your vision, okay? Your vision drives the things that you do. Set a compelling shared vision. You must have a vision, have a mission statement, and define your core values. Okay, to rank among the best schools in Africa, okay? Or church chair. I'm sure, I think that name sounds like it's from Kenya. Yes, my vision is to educate and empower every child to achieve godly excellence, to rank among the best few schools in Africa. You see, everybody's coming up with their visions now. Now I want to ask, now that you know the vision, it shouldn't end with you. There's something I call vision party. And that is that you actually have a meeting with your team when you break down the vision, mission, and your core values to everybody's understanding. It's not enough to have it in your handbook. And then you have to let everybody know it. You can still remember the vision statement, the mission statement of the schools that I led as an administrator. And I can recite some of them for you. I've led 4 schools in Nigeria, okay? In Calabar, in Abuja, in Lagos. I've also worked in Kano. And I know the vision statement of all of these schools, okay? So some people are saying, well, I don't know it. I have to look at the paper and I'm the employer. That's not good enough. And thank you for your sincerity. I really like it that you're sincere. Well, please, your assignment right now is that you're going to go through your vision. If you need to revise it, make sure you do it. It should not just be in your handbook or on a signage in your school. It has to be imbibed. You have to understand it, learn it, do it, meditate on it, understand it, and then translate it to the people that you lead. Because when everybody starts a school, there's something burning on their inside. Maybe there was a gap they saw in the educational sector and they wanted to fill. Maybe they wanted to attend to kids and they want to run an inclusive school where no child is left behind, whether they're autistic or dyslexic or whether they cannot read, whether what, no matter the learning challenges that they have. Okay, so you have to know your mission. Okay, if Lina the bio says providing, yes, my vision is to educate and empower every child to achieve excellence. That's Gabriel Akuru. Okay, building self-worth and academic excellence. Okay, I'm glad that people are educating the total man. Okay, that's amazing. So I can see that some of you know your vision. You should also know your what Wiggle School to raise a total child through quality education and good morals, making teaching and learning fun in a friendly atmosphere. Amazing. Thank you so much for all of this that you have sent in. Okay, I really appreciate the engagement. So now you know that you must know your vision, understand it, and share with the people. And they too must in turn understand it because it shapes everything that you do. And it is from there that you take decisions. It's from there, you know, it guides you on how to go about your own kind of school. Okay, then another thing, another practice that I want you to really, really pay attention to is to develop emotional intelligence. On my first job as a school administrator, I'm going to share a very shocking thing. The school owner had a very horrible temper. In fact, anytime he walked into the school, it was like we're all walking on eggshells, you know? No matter how intelligent or pretty or competent you were, the moment he walked in, he came with an energy and I was going to shout. And there was once my secretary came and told me that he slapped her. And of course, it didn't take too long before I resigned and left the school because I found that really poor. And looking back now, I see that that was a very poor emotional intelligence at work. Okay, and such things will affect the energy in a team. When a leader demonstrates very good emotional intelligence, it shows in the way that they listen, in the way that they try to understand how their actions will impact on the people that they lead. They lead with empathy and self-awareness. And that's the call I have for you today. In all the schools that I've led, I really do not remember. I remember on my last job, that the teachers asked me, they said, Miss Nancy, we don't hear you shout, even when you're angry. You know, they said, there's something at practice. They asked me, were you trained for it? And I said, over the years, I had to develop my emotional intelligence. You will not hear me yell at people, oh, get up, get up, get up. But you just see that the people I lead get their things done. Because you've got to learn to lead with empathy and self-awareness and to understand the people that you lead. And it's not by shouting and calling them names and yelling, you know, that you get the job done. So rather, you should get to understand them. And I recommend that you read a book on emotional intelligence or take a course if you're going to build a team. It's a very important quality to develop, okay, in any relationship at all, and especially in team building. Another thing that you want to look at is empowerment over micromanagement. You know, there's some leaders who feel good that they have to come to them for every little thing. Every little thing that even when the principal can take that decision, you say, no, my madam will not allow me. I have to go and confirm. You know, even things that he can take the decision and just copy the employer. You know, so then micromanaging people robs them of their innovation and the skills that they would bring to your team. So I know that there's a lot of malpractices among employees, but you see, if you're going to build a great team, you have to have some level of trust. You have to. You just have to take that risk to start gradually, you know, trusting the people that you work with and, you know, delegating responsibilities to them instead of carrying the weight of the whole world. Don't be the head of school who is the teacher, who is the administrator, who is the principal, who does everything, keeps the records. You know, more and more people are still coming to the waiting room. Wow, we have a full class today. Okay, so you need to learn to delegate, and you have to learn to trust your team. It comes with itself of being being a leader. You just have to learn to trust the members of your team. Of course, watch out for character issues and all of that. and try to, delegate as much as their character and their level of development allows and keep stretching that. But you really cannot have a great team if you're the one carrying the entire weight on your shoulders. Then you need to also look at accountability systems, okay? To ensure that there's clarity of roles. There are some schools where people fight over positions because there's no proper organogram. People do not even know who reports to who. They don't know who evaluates who. The school administrator will just come and say, okay, I'm evaluating everybody, and that shouldn't be. You have HODs, you have VPs, you have heads of schools, you have a principal, you have various positions. And everybody must understand what their role is so that people don't start fighting over positions. And that should, from the moment they're employed, they should know what their role actually is. Not just the job title, but what their roles are, what their responsibilities are. And there should also be timely appraisal so that everybody understands what is expected of them, like I said earlier. And also learn to give constructive feedback. And don't wait until it's only bad feedback that you have to give. Some leaders only wait when there's complaint and when there is poor performance. Even when they are doing fine, tell them about it. Okay, if they are doing great, tell them how they're doing. Okay, so your feedback should be constructive and not, don't pass derogatory terms at them or try to pull them down. No. Then you have to be consistent also. If you're evaluating people and you're correcting them, don't be guilty of the things that you're pointing out from your subordinates. Walk your talk, okay? Everybody write in the comments, walk your talk as a leader. Walk your talk as a leader, walk your talk, okay? Wow, I'm seeing so many comments here. Oh, some people are still turning in there. Walk your talk, exactly. Walk your talk as a leader, okay? I will walk my talk as a leader. Greatly, I'm very proud to say this. In all of the schools that I worked in, I don't remember embezzling any money. And I was bold enough to write that in my book, The School Administrator's Companion. By the way, you should get that book if you're an administrator, a school leader, or a school owner. Incidentally, we've run out of the copies. This is the last copy. So we only have the e-books now on my seller shop, which I'm going to share at the end of this presentation. You should get your copy. So don't be the leader who does one thing and expect others to do another. Don't be that kind of leader. We know what they say. Do as I say and not as I do. No, that's a red flag in leadership. You have to be consistent in your values and your actions. If your organization stands for integrity, please demonstrate integrity. And all these exam practices going on is all about leadership, okay? In any school that I lead, everybody knows that you do not try anything with the children. In fact, in one of the schools, I remember the West African School Exams Council coming and asking us for how to register their children because even they were so impressed. If they were taking an exam in the lab, we pulled down all the charts. We made sure there was nothing kids could look at, to cheat. And the way we spread them and all of that, and the teachers had a sound note of warning. They knew that they had no business being there, but it was their subject or to assist the children in any way. And even the officials were always impressed at the way we went about the exams in all the 4 schools that I worked in, So let your values speak. Don't have integrity on a signage and then you are cheating in exams. What are your core values? All of these things help. And the moment the leader cheats, you will not have the audacity to address it. Okay, anything that you condone or you are actually modeling wrongly, you will not have the audacity, the boldness to confront it with your team members. So don't be the one pilfering money from the impress to make your hair. And then you're now telling the other people, no, don't do it like this, don't do it like this. No, they have to see you model it, okay? And I can say proudly that in all the schools that I did, I actually modeled financial transparency in all my transactions, okay? So walk your talk. And then another thing would be that another practice I'll encourage is to coach your people. Learn to coach them. In 2025, management and leadership are just beyond passing directives. We've gone ahead to start coaching. We do a lot of coaching now. You have to coach people into the role, coach them into, into leadership. So walk your talk. Right, so we've talked about the things to do, and this will not be complete if we do not talk about the pitfalls to avoid. And one of the pitfalls you need to avoid totally is leading by fear, intimidation, or favoritism. Some people think that when they come in the morning, everybody should be running as if a masquerade just arrived. No, 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 as if the king of the village just showed up. No, please. When you're a leader, you're actually there to serve. And I'm not saying doing this in a way that you ignore everything that goes on and just get too friendly and chummy with the team to the point that they disrespect you. No, there should be boundaries. When creating boundaries, you do not do it by fear, by creating fear, threatening them or intimidating them, or picking favorites among them. I personally hate favoritism in leadership. People have to earn your attention by what they do, what they bring to the table, what they contribute to the team. Not that you just like someone's face just because they come from your village or worship in your church or they are a member of your mosque or something. No. Okay, or belong to your religion. Not at all. So do not live by fear, intimidation, or favoritism. No. Let everybody be treated fairly. Granted, there are some people that you're going to like on your team because they always deliver, okay? And you have to let people know, oh, I'm impressed at this person because this, that, they always deliver. Okay, so don't just pick favorites among staff indiscriminately and start knocking people's heads together. That's very poor leadership, okay? All right, so another thing you want to look at is communication. If something has not been communicated or it is unclear how you've communicated it, please do not expect that they understand. Communicate, communicate, and communicate again and again through WhatsApp, through video calls, through emails, through newsletters, whatever it takes to get the communication done, through memos, through announcements, through meetings. And you have to be clear on your expectations, communicate expectations. I can't say this enough. Then there's inconsistency in decision making, which brings a lot of confusion to a team. Today you're doing this, tomorrow is no, tomorrow. I'm not saying that there's no room to change your mind or improve on what you have decided. But when it cuts across as poor decision making and inconsistency, then it will not all go well for your team. If in the morning you're saying, oh, tomorrow there is public holiday, you will not be at work. In the afternoon, you hear, oh, we're sorry about the announcement in the morning, everybody's coming to work. By evening, you change it again, then you know that there's a problem, okay? So you have to be decisive. You have to learn consistency in decision making. And that's why you should have a policy manual so that it guides you and guides everybody on how to take decisions consistently, and you're not just doing it out of sentiments, okay? Out of sentiments. Then poor modeling, like I talked about misappropriation of funds, exam malpractices, cheating and lying, absenteeism as a leader, all of those things are no, 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 okay? So at this point, I want us to have a leadership self-check. And I'm sure there are also teachers here who are preparing for school leadership roles. And by the way, you do not have to have a position for you to be a leader, because even in your little corner as a teacher, you're not less than anybody else in the system. You only have a role to play in teaching, but you should also learn all of these things, because someday or even in the next school year, you might be promoted to the level of leadership, okay, school leadership, and have an office. So I need you to ask yourself, am I approachable? Do I listen more than I speak? Do I invest in the growth of my team? You know, some leaders are even scared to train their team or grow them because they are scared they'll come and outgrow them. If you're training others, my expectation is that you're also developing yourself. As you develop them, you're also developing yourself. Some leaders are scared to invest or point to their team members because they don't want them to outgrow them. They feel that they'll come and take their positions, which is possible, but you should get to a point where you also outgrow the position. Okay? Do I measure performance and provide constructive feedback? Not just feedback, constructive. Not feedback that says you're not doing well. Then I'm not telling you what the expectations are or how you should do it. Okay? How many of you are actually self-checking? Okay? Check yourself. Am I communicating enough? Am I approachable? Do I listen more than I speak? Do I invest in the growth of my team? Do I measure performance and provide constructive feedback? If you're not approachable, then you have to ask yourself. I remember on my last job, you know, because my job was a change management thing and I was going to bring in changes, and people didn't like the kind of changes I was bringing. So some of them didn't like coming to me, and I had to use my relationship with the heads of schools to try and reach everybody else, you know. And they would normally say, oh, Miss Nancy is not so approachable. She's so professional. She just likes everything done. So the same way I'm asking you, are you approachable? I've also been asked that question, and I had to review my style of leadership because honestly, I was not very approachable to her. I told them I had an open office, but you know, I think the few of them who tried to come initially were coming to gossip, and they saw my reaction. So maybe they were used to doing that with previous school leaders or school administrators that they had. For me, cutting down others and pulling them down doesn't work. So if that's an employee's idea of a leader being approachable, then I'm sorry, I'm not. But you know, I would always tell them my office is open, you can come and discuss anything. After a while, they began to see that I meant it, that they could come to discuss issues, they could come to make recommendations, and they could come to talk to me about challenges. And through that, I was able to coach a few of them and then also got to understand them better. But ask yourself, just like I had to ask myself, are you approachable? Do you listen more than you speak? Do you invest in the growth of your team? Okay, do you measure performance or do you just tell them you need to perform well? Oh, in this place, we like excellence. Meanwhile, excellence is not defined. You have to define excellence up to even the toilet. How do you want the toilet to be? You know, in one of the schools I worked in, our standard for the toilet was that somebody could sit there and eat. That's how neat we wanted the toilet. That was our standard. We would say it should be so neat that if someone takes food, then the person can sit down and eat it comfortably. Of course, nobody's going to take food there, but I just needed them to imagine how clean the toilet would be. It would have to be a place that is not smelling for anybody to want to eat there. Okay. All right. So that is it with the self-check. I think the click growth is going to come now. I think this is the first half. So we'll continue after we're done with this. But please share the workbook with everybody. Do they have the workbook? I'm curious. There's a workbook I prepared for you. That's how much I love all of you, okay? I prepared
Well,
a workbook for you.
we'll
And
share the work. We'll share the workbook after I finish.
oh, okay, that's great. But I hope
Yes.
this first half has been great for you. If it has been, then please say so in the comments. Say what you have learned. Just say something while click growth comes. And by the way, I hope you know that this webinar, Building a High Performance School Team, with a bent to leadership, culture, and growth, is proudly sponsored by Click Growth, the makers of Atada Power, a school management software, and they'll be telling you more about this. Thank you so much for having me. We'll continue after this. Thank you. Okay, so welcome back, everyone. Thank you for, I took time to read all the comments. And I must say that I've been really, really amazed at the level of engagement. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Okay. All right, so we are going on to the second half. And this section, we're looking at creating and sustaining a winning school culture. In the first half, we established that the leader plays a major role, a very key role in shaping the culture and also building the team. And then we're going to go into a bit more detail about culture here. Okay. All right. So culture refers to the beliefs, values, rituals, and practices that shape how a school operates. When you go into a school, apart from the beautiful buildings you see, the things that drive how they do things, the beliefs they have, the values they uphold, and the various practices that go on there, those are the things that we call culture. Let me just share this story. When I took on one of my jobs as a school administrator, I will not tell you which of the schools. I've led 4 schools, apart from being a teacher for over a decade. I've been a school administrator in 4 schools in various cities in Nigeria. So in my first week, one of the staff just came to me and she said, Miss Nancy, where do you come from? It was the first time I was hearing that as a school administrator, because in all the other schools I've worked, nobody had ever asked me what state I come from, what village. But suddenly it just seemed to matter in this particular organization because people were very ethnic conscious, They had cliques of, we are Yorubas, we are Igbos, we are Hausas, we are Idomas, we are TV people. And it was just not my style of admin. And I just smiled and said, oh, I'm a Nigerian. I hope that's enough answer. He said, no, your name sounds like Igbo. This one said, no, your name sounds like, you're from this state. And it actually bothered me because I had never seen such a thing in any school. I didn't know if my performance mattered whether I was Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, or even a non-Nigerian. I had worked on teams where I led expatriates. On one of my jobs, on 2 of my jobs, I had expatriates that I was, a leader over, and we worked very well. I didn't care that my skin color was different from theirs. They came from different countries. We brought them in, and I was their school administrator. And so I had to do my job. So this particular question just, was like, what is this? But, that was how the organization was nurtured. When everybody comes in, everybody from that tribe, from their tribe begins to, pander towards them. They just, get close and form a clique. And I found that very uncomfortable. Eventually, it turned out that the organization was actually toxic and I had to leave. But, it started showing from my first week because I didn't hear that from just one person. Several other people came to me, meaning that was the practice there. So culture refers to the beliefs, values, practices that shape how a school operates. It means that in this school, ethnicity is a thing. And if you were going to work there, you were not going to form cliques, you would have a problem. As a matter of fact, even people who now, I don't know how they found out from HR or whatever, started guessing, checked me online to find out where I was from. And the people from that particular axis started coming to me. And I remember during my census, they said, oh, Miss Nancy doesn't care where you come from. She doesn't play favoritism. And I was happy that I didn't have to keep saying it to them. They just knew that this particular leader didn't care where anybody came from, but cared what you were bringing, contributing to the team. And that was how I treated everybody for the 3 years I was there until I resigned. But you see, the questions they asked me my first week revealed a lot to me about how things were done there, because I had never had those questions in any other school that I worked as an administrator. So at this point, you want to ask yourself, what are the beliefs, what are the values, what are the rituals and practices that shape how your school operates? Is ethnicism part of it? Is nepotism part of it? Is the religious inclination part of it? You know? So those are the things that you want to ask, okay? Is professionalism what shapes how things are done? Okay, efficiency, effectiveness, are those the words that come clearly to you? Diversity, inclusivity, are those words that are familiar in your culture? Or do you just write them in your handbook while you do a separate thing? Because this school actually, we developed a handbook that had to focus a lot on diversity and inclusivity. But it took a lot for them to unlearn what they had learned over the years and to start doing the right thing. And when they named him is professionalism, they say Miss Nancy is too professional. Go enjoy, you're not doing like a Nigerian, that kind of a thing. But I have to stand my ground and make sure that I did the right thing all through the period that I was there. So culture is how we do things around here. The invisible hand behind all actions, attitudes, and behaviors. Okay? If you see a workplace where people go after, some people stay back to talk to the madam after school hours to report who did what, who said what. In fact, some leaders listen to as much as how a member of staff will say they don't like your pair of shoes, your head is too big. I don't know how you have time for such things. Because for me, when people try to tell me those kind of things where I am, I just let them know the proper thing that I expect from them when they are making reports. Okay, so if it is laced with being vindictive and trying to get someone in trouble, I can pick that energy very quickly and correct it as much as I want to hear from the staff, as much as I want to know what is going wrong. There's a certain way that we would like them to be reported in a professional manner, okay? All right. So these are features of a positive performance-driven school culture. How will you know whether your school has a positive performance-driven school culture? There will be mutual respect. It's not just the subordinates respecting the leader. The leader also respects those under them. So you don't just get to school and talk to people anyhow. In fact, I had to drop a client about 3 years ago. She brought me in to do a job, and I couldn't stand the way she talks to people. I'm going to say an ugly incident that happened. Of course, I'm not mentioning names here, but I'm just drawing out a lesson. We recruited staff for her because it was a startup when school was just starting. And then within a month or so, she laid off the school nurse. She said the nurse didn't come to give her an injection or something. I couldn't fathom it, and it was not on a work day, and that was not part of my job description. And so I already saw so much toxicity and disrespect from the school owner to the subordinates. And she wanted to extend that to me. I had to revoke the contract and tell her that I was not going ahead with it. So respect should be mutual. If people respect you as an employer, please respect them, okay? There are no double standards in this thing. And the truth is they might give you some level of what we call eye service in Nigeria, but that would just be for the moment. But if you want to actually build a positive school culture, this respect has to be reciprocal from top to bottom, from top to bottom, from bottom to top. Okay, not always from top, not always from the bottom to the top. Okay. And by the way, I don't know what we even mean by bottom. Everybody's just playing different roles. Okay. Then there are high expectations for all, which are communicated clearly. High expectations. And that means you also have laid down policies and procedures so that the expectations are clearly known by all parties. Everybody knows what the expectations are. Can you hear me? Somebody's talking.
Most of the land was quick to maintaining
Someone mute them, please. All right. So there were high expectations for everyone, from the top to the very, last member of the team. There's constructive feedback and a growth mindset. So feedback is not used to tear people down. Look at you, what do you even know? You run people down. No, no, no. You have a goal you're heading to. And the things you're addressing are things that will not help us get there as a team. And so when you're giving constructive feedback, you could say what they are doing right, what they are doing wrong, and how to correct it. Okay? Can you see the order? What they're doing right first. Always sandwich the criticisms with a bit of something nice that they're doing, because they can't be getting it all wrong. For example, someone sends you an email and it's full of errors. You could say, oh, I really appreciate that this email came timely. That means you keep to time and you're able to deliver on time. I really appreciate that. However, for this organization, we are very big on how we present ourselves. And I do not appreciate it at all that there are so many errors and they were not corrected. Now, what's the way forward? Are you aware that ChatGPT or Bard or even WhatsApp can help you to edit the email instead of just sending it raw like that? What have you done? You have told them that you're happy with something they have done, which is to deliver it on time. You've told them what you are unhappy about, which is that there were lots of errors. And it's not just because you do not like it, it does not represent the organization. So apart from you not liking it, then you're linking it to the goal. What's the goal? We're trying to get kids into the school and grow. What's the goal? We have a goal to bring in maybe 30 new students in the next school year or next term. And if parents receive this kind of email with grammatical errors and typos, they are going to underrate us or regard us as a school that does not pay attention to details. And that could deter them from enrolling their children. Have you seen how I've explained? Instead of just saying, you're always sending me emails that have errors. Please, I don't like this kind of thing. Take it away, So you have addressed what they have done right, which is to give everybody deserves a little massage on their egos. You have also addressed what is not right, and you have given a way forward. You have even tied it to the goals, why they shouldn't do that, so that next time they think of the goal, the big picture, instead of just saying, oh, Ms. Nancy doesn't like typos. That's fine, because I really don't. But that's not the reason they shouldn't bring typos to me. It is because it's not allowed in this organization, and we are branding ourselves in a certain way, okay? And then growth mindset, okay? So don't, like I said, don't tear them down and think it's the end. People are evolving just like we're evolving, okay? When I started school admin, some things that I knew later, I didn't know at that point. So I did the best with what I knew. And as I knew better, I did better as well. And that's why we encourage training and constantly developing yourself. It's a growth mindset that will make you be on the lookout for training and things that your books, think courses, things that can make you develop yourself and grow. Okay, there's also shared leadership and a voice for every team member. Like I said, don't micromanage people when they are assigned to do something. Don't be the one telling them everything how to do it. Allow them to take leadership of the area that they're handling. The chief security officer, much as he reports to maybe the head of corporate services or the school administrator or admin officer, has an idea about security, some things about security that you might not know. And so they'll be bringing, you have the big picture of how the school should do, but there are some little details that person is going to take leadership of and supply to you. So do not neglect anybody's shared leadership in the area that they have oversight. Okay? And then it's also, sorry, there's something here I'm trying to say. So shared leadership, that's it. Okay, and then of course, you also have to, not when there is failure, which will come sometimes, you have to work away around it, like to get out of it, okay? So that's very important. So those are things you see there. And in a positive school culture, there's inclusivity, okay? People don't feel like, oh, it's them or is the leadership against us. I don't know if you know there are some schools that the leadership and teachers and other admin teams are always at loggerheads. I don't know if, excuse me, I don't know if you worked in such a school where, it's always them against us kind of thing, and it's not healthy, okay? It should be an us with everybody playing their roles and contributing to the whole. These are warning signs that you have a toxic culture. When there's too much blame shifting, or it's because you didn't do that. Everybody's always pointing fingers, Let me tell you what a healthy team looks like. Let's say someone in a team misses something and parents are going to notice it. A member of the team will just step in for that moment and cover up. Not in a way to tell lies or anything. So imagine that maybe the front desk officer is late and you get in there and there are two parents walking in for inquiries, but there's nobody in the front desk. A teacher can just walk in there nicely and smile. And by the way, that's why everybody in the school should be trained on various things. Maybe a teacher is just leaving the restroom and coming out and sees two parents there, can just walk in there. Oh, hello, how are you? I'm so person, I'm a teacher. I'm sorry, the front desk officer just took a walk to do something, and then you covering for that moment so that the gap is not felt by your client or customer. Instead of, oh, sorry, the front desk officer as usual is late. She's always late to work. I don't know why. Okay, come back tomorrow, madam. At that point, you're actually misrepresenting your organization. Yes, something has gone wrong, but you're shifting the blame instead of just taking responsibility for that time, or at least communicating in a way that your organization is not seen in a bad light. Okay? And then the boss also maybe did not approve money on time, and then materials were not bought, and something goes wrong, there's a knock-on effect on the system. Instead of apologizing, oh, I'm sorry, I should have actually delegated maybe approval of so amount to the head of school. But no, you start blaming everybody. Oh, this is how you will do. This is how you do this here. All of that. So there's a need to not shift blames to people. Take responsibility. And there's passive aggression or silence, usually between, a lot of it happens among staff. Maybe the ones who are favorites to the madam or guy, people will avoid them so that they don't go and tell on them or tell lies. And then when management passes directives, you see everybody just rolling their eyes again. So they say we should not work on the field anymore, or we should not do this anymore. Or they is always they are not us, So passive aggression or silence, even in a meeting, you people have anything to say, everybody keeps quiet. After all, what I have to say is not important, so why am I even saying? Why am I wasting my time and energy? You also notice burnout and disengagement by the staff. The energy around, when you get to a place where there's toxic culture, sometimes you can almost cut it with a knife in the air. There's this tension. And you see that people are not quite happy to work. The energy is low. People are not just happy, you see different people, they're not just responding in a certain way, okay? And there's disengagement. You can be at the front desk and parents will be coming because you have been asked to smile. They're forcing you to smile. So even the smile is so plastic, Everything is just there. Then there's burnout because a lot of times you see that they keep pushing work to certain people, and some people get away with not working because their business is to gossip and cause more toxicity in the system. So the people who are working will now overwork and have a burnout. And I'm talking from experience because I've actually seen this happen. Okay. Then there's high staff turnover. Of course, when people are not happy, they're not likely to stay long. Some are just waiting for the end of the school year to send in their resignations, or some do not even bother resigning, they just take a walk. I don't know if you have seen that in your organization. Then, of course, there's the us and them mentality, okay? And of course, favoritism, the boss picking some people as their favorites so that they can gossip and talk, or praising the wrong people, promoting the wrong ones, or not having standards to explain why some people are getting some favors while others are not. And people just get away with a whole lot of things. They take decisions based on sentiments and not on the policies and procedures. The madam can come to work and not like your face. Maybe you're dressing more than her, or looking better, or driving a better car. She doesn't feel good, and she tells you to go. No reasons given. She just says, I just don't want her in my organization. Or the organ does the same thing. So those are signs of a toxic work culture. Anywhere you get to a place and there's no structure, no policies to guide decision making, no performance management system, there's very likely to be a problem. Very likely to be a problem in such a place. Very, very likely. Because it gives room to all sorts of things. If there's no proper structure, it gives room to a whole lot. Now, what are the practical culture building strategies you need to adopt? And live by your core values. Create or revisit them as a team as often as you can. And make sure they're involved in your day-to-day operations. Okay, make sure that they are involved, with your day-to-day operations. All right. So encourage and inculcate an ownership mentality to everybody who works on your team. Don't make it sound like people are just here for a while. Yes, nobody owns the organization except you. But you see, how they go about it while they're there with you matters a lot. I have an organization that if my former employers, I actually consult for 2 of them, and we still have a relationship. Why? Because of how happy I was to work in the school. So they brought me in to train, they brought me in to do stuff. And I was just a happy lad, like when I was there. But imagine that it was so toxic that I couldn't wait to leave. I wouldn't have nice memories. I might not even want to do business with them after I've moved on. Okay. So inculcate an ownership mentality in the staff. Let them take it like their business. And that will happen when they are treated well. Okay. Recognize and reward contributions to the team and to the school's development. I've worked in a school where there were no clear-cut parameters for giving awards. I would just hear so person, staff of the year in elementary, and you're wondering, how did this person become staff of the year? And it's so obvious to everybody else. It's so obvious to everybody else that person has no business being staff of the year. When they are now staff of the year and the staff are not happy, always watch their reaction. It means they might know some things why that person should not be. And they're wondering why the person is the one receiving the reward. So recognize and reward contributions. And the reward does not always have to be monetary. Sometimes a word of encouragement, sometimes a letter of recommendation, sometimes announcing in a meeting that this person is exceptional. Sometimes a little promotion, maybe to take on an extra responsibility. Okay? Then develop clear norms for meetings, conflict resolution, and collaboration. Let your team know what is expected. What's the norm for your meetings? How do we resolve conflicts? How do we collaborate? Because a lot of times people can have unresolved conflicts and they just keep piling and piling. You see people on teams keeping malice, they don't talk to one another, they have to work together. I'm not saying you should be hugging one another every day in a team. Okay, how is that even possible? There'll be times when you have conflict. But how these are handled, how these conflicts are handled, and how collaboration occurs, those are very important things to note in a team. It's a safe space for honest dialogue. During the advert by Click Growth, I was actually going through the comments that you people made. You must have noticed that I responded to a good number of them before I was asked to come back to take the second half. So one of the comments I saw there was that the staff, you don't even know what's in the minds of the staff. If you don't know what's in the mind of your employee, you might not know everything, but you should know enough to trust them or to plan with them, okay? And that can only come when there's honest dialogue. I remember the first time some staff told me that they thought I was a difficult school administrator. I think it didn't sound like music in my ears, though. You know, all of us like to hear, Madam, you are doing so well. Then they carry your handbag, they'll be following you and being praised singing for you. Apart from hearing the good things you're doing, you need to know how you're not doing well. And that will come from honest dialogue. But you see, until they trust that you're able, you have enough emotional intelligence to take that bitter dose they're going to give you, they will not share it with you. So if the staff don't share with you what is not going well, it means they don't trust you enough. You have not earned their trust. The same way that you earn their trust, and they have to earn your trust as employees, you also have to earn their trust as their employer. So they will not move from the level of, oh, we just work for him or her. He or she pays us salaries and we are fine. So in having meaningful discussions, oh, madam, I think if we try this might not all go well for the school. Oh, why do you think so? And then they tell you this, that. Or they even tell you, madam, there's something you're doing we do not understand. Can we ask you some questions? And they ask you, through the questions, you might even get better clarity and do better as a leader. So create honest dialogue. I didn't say for just talking. A lot of times, what we want to hear as leaders is, well done, madam. In fact, thank you for paying our salary. You're not paying us. Oh, thank you. And that's all. What if they just come to you and tell you that, madam, we think you have some favorites on the team and we're not quite happy about it. Or maybe you gave a reward or an award to somebody who does not deserve it, and then they give you the reasons. Or maybe they think that you're not managing the school's money well. It's sensitive, but sometimes you need to hear. I remember as a school administrator, I told my employer that she was not managing the school's money well. And she looked at me like, who does she think she is? You know? But you know, yes, a few years after I had left, she came to appreciate it. She was somebody who would travel. If she was in the UK, she would just buy toys and not even call to us. We have a budget we are prepared. She would not keep to it. She would just go on. She likes this toy. She likes even the ones we already had. She can go and buy different colors of it. And we not have too many of a particular thing and not at all of another one. The things she likes, she will just buy and buy and buy without any budget. Then she'll come to the accountant and collect the money back. You know? So the money that was meant, budgeted for something else, will now go into what she likes. That was not in the budget. Meanwhile, what she likes is in abundance in the store. She now brings in extra and extra and extra. So I had this honest dialogue with her, and she didn't like it. I also talked to her about how she talked to staff, and she didn't like it. But you know, as leaders, we cannot just be hearing all the sweet things alone. Some people are in the waiting room. Can you let them in, please? So we cannot just be hearing only the sweet things. Okay, we have to also hear the bitter. Okay, yeah, the bitter with the sweets. You know that song. All right, so take space for honest dialogue. Now, promote inclusivity and diversity. I told you how I got to a school, and one of the first questions I was asked, where are you from, Miss Nancy? Why? Because they were trying to see how to form cliques, which I didn't want to be a part of. So you as the leader should not model that. You should not model, not excluding people like that, you know. You should be inclusive in your decisions. a team is made up of several people. I've worked on teams where we had someone from Mexico, people from the United States, a Chinese lady, a few Indians on one team. And we had people who were not Christians, who believed in the Sabbath. We had people from various religions, you know, one or two Hindus and all of that. And we had to work together, you know. So I would not go to a meeting, for example, and start quoting Bible verses at everybody because I'm the administrator. I had to be sensitive to the people on my team. I had to treat them as, you know, inclusive. The ones who were not Nigerians, we have to embrace them and provide bodies and people who, you know, be pals with them, to move around with them and make sure they were fine, you know, and also try to explain why we do things the way we do here, you know. And a diverse team, you should never look for people who are exactly like you on a team. So don't look for your tribe people, don't look for, you have to have diversity on the team for people to bring in different perspectives to a thing. And some of these people had worked in different countries, some had worked in the United Arab Emirates, they brought ideas. And our school did well because we have people bringing in ideas from here and there. But you know, if everybody's like you and you want everybody to just be like you, when it's time for recruitment, you recruit only your tribe people and fill up the whole place so that they'll be reporting everybody to you. You're creating a toxic work environment. And they're going to get out of hand because they will think they're trying to help you maintain your position, but they're actually messing up the organization. And then it should also be that everybody's held accountable, including the leadership. I remember on my last job, you know, the executive administrator was like a really big position because the principal, the head of primary, and the head of early years reported to me, and I reported to the board. So I was the number one person in the whole organization, apart from the board members. You know, I remember that in trying to keep myself accountable, I would even tell I remember once I had to go to the bank. As my driver was coming to pick me, I told the admin officer, oh, this is where I'm going to, I'm signing. They said, no, the administrator does not sign the time book. They don't. I said, how can you be making rules that you don't keep to? To them, this was the first time they were saying the head of that school, someone in that position, go to sign to explain that she was going out to the bank. And I said, no, I'm also accountable. I said it was a great sin. No, please, you don't need to sign. The administrator just goes out. You know, they know that once your driver comes to pick you, you are going somewhere. I said, but this for a personal thing. Even if I were going on an official assignment, I would sign because the front desk officer should know where I'm going to. If someone looks for me, they should not be wondering where the school administrator is just because I'm the administrator. The position doesn't come for you to abuse the position. You're also accountable, even in your leadership. So I would tell the front desk officer, okay, this is where I'm going to, please let me have the time. And I would sign like anybody else. They found it strange, I must say, because nobody in that position had ever done that. You know, I also recall several other things. If I needed an item from the store, I had to sign. Okay, bring me the maybe hand wash or whatever. I would sign like anybody else. And they'd be like, no. There are some things assigned to your position. Just go and collect. No, we have to keep record of everything, and I have to sign because I've told everybody they have to sign. I also will have to sign. That's how it is. You have to be accountable. So don't come and say you're one big masquerade that is above everybody and you're not accountable. That is very toxic, okay? And before you know it, somebody else will be emulating you in that group. Okay? Okay, someone says my number. Someone wants my number. Okay, all right, so that's it. So you have to be accountable to everybody. You just have to be accountable, okay? And then another thing is that I didn't mention this here. You have to make sure that you communicate. You know, sometimes when things go wrong, we don't like to communicate that to subordinates. For example, if we are saying we're cutting down on the sugar paper we are buying for the school, I should be able to say that in a meeting and explain. Oh, the cost of sugar paper has gone over, blah, blah, blah. In the budget, we actually budgeted to buy maybe 3 cartons or 4, and now the price of the 4 cartons is the price of 1. So please manage what you have. Alternatively, we are going to maybe find something that we can make do with. You know, always be plain and transparent, giving them maybe a specific amount, sensitive information. They should have information that will help them understand the system and be able to cooperate with you and work with you. It's important. They don't leak sensitive information, but always let them know what's going on as much as it affects them. Okay. We are now looking at people, processes, and performance. Actually, we started on people because there are some of these things I've talked about, you modeling to them and all of that are very important, okay? So we're looking at people, systems, and all of that. So this is the growth part, okay? So growth is the outcome of strategy, okay? Growth is the outcome of strategy and support. The outcome of strategy and support. Some people have left. I wonder why. Is it too long? Or have they run out of data? So for you to build a strong team, it starts with you selecting the right people to work with you. And this is where I tell people, don't bring in any malpractices in hiring. Don't go and bring your brother or your sister or your neighbor who is looking for a job, okay? Just so that the person is the one on this position instead of the best fit. Look for the best fit when you're building a team. Look for the best fit. Start with careful selection of the best people. Hire those who possess the right skills, the required skills for your role, for that role. And those who are aligned with your work ethics, your school, your culture. Because sometimes, even when you have built a good culture in your organization, the entrance of a wrong person to your organization can come in there to dilute the things you're doing or mess things up if you don't keep an eye on them. Okay? So you have to, when you employ people, make sure they're on probation and watch out to see that they're good fits, even when you have done your selection. And that's why nobody should be confirmed if they do not quite align with your, you know, with your system. Okay? And these are areas you need to focus on in growth for the team. Professional development, very important. I'm very big on training. I remember training my staff so much, they just say, oh, Miss Nancy, you will not kill us with training. I would train on everything, train you how to keep records, train you how to open files, how to create a filing system, train you on, if it's AI, now if I were in school, I would have trained on AI. In fact, even now my organization trains on AI, I take sessions, train on the boarding house team, train admin, train and train and train. And I don't just train aimlessly. From the reports of the performance reviews, okay, I will notice gaps and prepare trainings that will address those gaps. So it's not that I just see one fine trainer, I like her face or I like the way she talks, and I just start bringing all of them to the organization to cause confusion. Okay, so you have to be careful who you even allow to come and train. Some of these people just leave things from Google. Some do not have experiential knowledge to share. We don't be reading slides to you, okay? So develop professional development, the professional development plan, ongoing, continuous professional development that is tailored to your team's needs. And then you can also bring in coaching. Okay, even peer coaching, you can introduce that as part of your professional development and growing the team. But please make sure you address gaps. If you have problems with classroom management, make sure that is addressed in training and in coaching them, the ones who have challenges. Look out for the gaps in the remarks on their performance management appraisal, okay, the reports that come from their appraisals. And make sure you have a performance management system. I've mentioned this before. It's an area to focus on. Make sure there are key performance indicators. You have templates for evaluating each cadre of staff. I have templates for my seller shop, okay, bundle of templates for every school cadre, from gatesmen to caterers to nannies, cleaners, teachers, management team, top leadership, school leadership, SLT, school leadership team, various parameters and templates for evaluating them, okay? So that you have data-driven reviews. You don't just call somebody and say, I'm laying you off. You're not performing. What does not performing mean in your organization? Are there data to support this layoff that you're about to do? If you're laying somebody off, you must have sufficient data, enough evidence from their performance. And that will not happen if you have not set clear goals for them, if they do not have job descriptions, if they do not have KPIs, they don't have parameters, they don't even know the parameters you're using to appraise them. Okay, so I have templates for appraisal for all the various schools that we can get to my seller shop and get it. Okay. Then of course you should have a program for mentoring and coaching and developing leaders within the team. This happens so that you can also have succession planning. A lot of schools do not look at that. On my last job, for the key positions, we had people who will be succeeding if somebody left. Okay, so succession planning is important. I know the education space is crazy sometimes. As you're planning, people are leaving, they want to jackpot, they want to move to UK, Canada, or Australia, even Australia now, New Zealand. People are just leaving Sweden. Excuse me. But as much as lies within your power, prepare, have succession planning. Who can take over from the school administrator? Who are two people who can take over from the school administrator when he or she leaves? How do we get them? How do we start coaching and training them just in case this happens? So that we're not constantly bringing people from outside. These are people who've already trained and who understand our culture and who have worked here and should be able to function. It also affords a path for career growth so that people don't think they are constantly in one place and staying there, retiring there, the same salary. It gives them hope that someday, maybe 2, 3, 4 years from now, they can move on to, become the administrator. So always also have feedback loops, what we call 360-degree feedback. Okay, where you hear from everybody that has to do with you and the team. For example, maybe even your suppliers, the vendors that you work with have to appraise you. You pay them on time. There are lapses in the way you execute, the things that are written in your contracts with them. And then the teachers also appraise you. The admin team appraise you and give you feedback. So you have to have things for reflection. All of these lead to improvements. But if you're constantly thinking you're doing amazing and nobody can talk to you and the whole world revolves around you and you're the only one who has a brain and hair on your head to think and a brain to think, then there'll be a problem. So feedback will help you. It was through feedback I got to know that sometimes I had expectations that were too high for the staff and I was putting them under pressure. And I was thinking I was a very gentle administrator, gentle, Nancy Mika mild. And they'll be like, oh, she doesn't shout or she doesn't, but she's high-handed, as in her expectations are, off the roof. So I had to manage my expectations because of where they were and where they were coming from while I developed them to get to that level that I wanted them to be. Instead of just dragging everybody and they could lose an arm and a leg in the name of trying to meet up with your expectation while you're dragging them forcefully there, So you also want to have things for reflection. And you can do this by sending out surveys. And they could be anonymous so that they can see what they like. You can have maybe a bag or a box, opinion box, where they can just write what it is they feel about some things and drop it there. And there's someone who collects them for the administrator or the head of school or the employer to go through. Okay. And then you have to work at talent retention. I know that teachers hop from one school to another. Even offer them 5,000. Some people will move. 5,000 extra. They add 5,000 to their current salary. Some people will move. That's how bad it is. But in all of these movements, you should always see what you can do. What can you do to keep your staff? You know, and emotional intelligence helps because it's been discovered that people leave bad leaders, not necessarily the organization. You might love an organization until a new school administrator who is a tyrant shows up. Then suddenly the organization you were in love with feels like hell. And you don't even feel like going to work anymore. Don't know how many of you can relate to this, but I've had such an experience. I just loved an organization, gave my 150%. I was ready to just be here for as long as possible. I'm gone, done. And then one director shows up and comes to with an attitude, comes with toxicity, and comes with all sorts, and you're like, hey, much as I love this organization, I don't want to die here. Let me just start marking time so that I leave. Also encourage collaboration. What collaboration structures do you have there? Do you encourage people to work in groups, to work in teams? Someone sent me a message and said all teams are groups, but not all groups are teams. And I totally understand. I quite agree with that. That you can have a group of people together working, and it might not really be a team. You know, until you people are working towards a common goal, until there's collaboration, and people are like, they're putting the goal first, not our selfish interest, you know. You might just be having a group of people and not necessarily a team. You qualify as a team when you have a common goal. You qualify as a team when, you know, you're not putting your selfish interest above that of the group, okay? So you should have various people. You should normalize having people work in groups. I'm not talking about cliques now. Normalize having people work in groups. Encourage peer learning. You shouldn't put someone down just because another member of staff knows something or understands something better than them. You can have them to actually go in and teach them. You know, you can also have interdisciplinary planning. Where you have people planning together. There was a school I worked in. If you were planning your lesson plan, you could actually call, maybe you were the grade 2 homeroom teacher and you're good with what you do, but you notice that the English teacher will handle a certain aspect of your class better. You could actually invite them to your class. So there was collaborative planning, even in lessons. You could bring the science teacher to your class that is not teaching your class, or what maybe where you're meant to teach English, science, maths, and you're struggling in science, instead of staying there and pretending. You could actually call the science teacher and say, oh, I'm teaching my class this, but I would like you to take this aspect of this topic, let's do it together, or whatever, you know. Encourage collaboration. Even on teams, when you have events, people should be able to work, you know, in small groups and get the job done. So encourage teamwork and cooperation by creating a positive work environment, promote open communication, and facilitate team building activities. Sometimes instead of your meetings just being stiff, you can have fun. You know, let the staff also let down their hair and enjoy themselves. Okay, it shouldn't be all work. Sometimes you can take people out, have a picnic, away from work, or maybe have a strategy session outside the school environment. It doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. It could just be somewhere really affordable just pies and the drinks. And you will have a nice outing. Celebrate successes together to strengthen the bond amongst you. Okay? Celebrate successes together. All right. And then conflicts. There's no way you will have a team that there will be no conflict unless everybody's pretending or unless God has sent angels from heaven to be your team. But as long as you're dealing with human beings, flesh and blood will bring conflict. Okay, so conflict is a natural part of any team. It's not something to avoid. Okay, you need to learn to manage conflict, not avoid it totally. It's important to address it constructively. Again, I say encourage open dialogue and listen attentively to all parties that are concerned. And don't take sides unnecessarily. And remember, you have your handbook, which is meant to serve as your guide for decision making. It also helps you to resolve conflict. If one person is going against what the policy says and the other person is right, always bring in the policies as a deciding factor. Find common ground and compromise whenever possible, and focus on finding solutions rather than picking faults with the people concerned. And these are growth metrics that you need to monitor in your school. How are the students performing? And in order for them to perform, please do not cheat. Make sure you keep your values of integrity. How are we doing with staff retention? By now, you should be able to know how many people are in your organization from the beginning of the year to the end. How many left? What percentage left? Why did they leave? The ones who are left behind, are they demoralized or just staying and waiting to leave? Apart from the general issues in the country, you need to know the ones that are peculiar to your own organization. Are people demoralized because Nigeria is the way it is? Or are they extra, going down the drain because they're working with you? Also look at team output and project delivery. And then look at innovation and problem-solving capacity of your team members. Okay? Okay, someone is asking, how does one manage a jealous boss? Now, we'll get to question and answers soon because I'm almost done. And this is for your reflection. What does a high-performance team look like in your current school context? What does it look like in your current school now? What does high performance look like? What gaps have you noticed? And how do you think this can be resolved? So putting it all together, I need you to do this. I need you to reflect and write down one leadership habit that you need to improve to enable you build a high performance team. One leadership habit you need to improve to enable you build a high performing team. One culture enhancing activity to implement in your school immediately. Maybe in your school, everybody speaks their language, because they have more people from that particular ethnic group. Maybe it's time to stop it and let everybody speak English. Okay, which should be the proper thing. Okay, everybody should speak a common language. Maybe it's time to review your recruitment policies. Okay, to be sure that you get the best fit. Okay, and then you also want to look at what you do differently next term, because this term is almost over. How you plan all these things that we've talked about towards next term. So we're concluding now. Leadership plays a key role in shaping the culture and creating a high-performing team. Remember that teamwork makes the dream work. Thank you for your attention. You've been an amazing audience today, and I've had real fun doing what I love to do, which is to teach on administration and management. So let's get to the questions, okay? I'm already seeing some questions. Some people are already asking questions, questions. So remember to get my phone number. It's my WhatsApp enabled line. Okay, someone is asking here. Okay, my internet is unstable. Someone is asking, when consulting for schools, do you consider low fee paying schools or upcoming schools, or you treat every school the same way? Oh, my organization is hard-based, and we treat low paying schools differently. We try to create a separate package for them. I think last week or so, or 2 weeks ago, I visited a school in Ikorodu. And one of the school owner is actually on this webinar. And we had to, just find a separate fee for the school because the fees are not as high as the ones we deal with in Lekki, Keja, and VI. Okay. So yes, we consider low fee paying schools and we try to treat you well. Someone says, how do you handle a jealous boss? What do you mean by jealous boss? Is it for your performance? They are jealous that you're performing well, or you know more than them. Well, let me tell you something about handling a boss. Please never rub your intelligence in the face of your boss in a derogatory manner. Okay, because that's the person who is going to evaluate you. And let me tell you, what are the parameters for evaluating people? There is actually a part that is personal, to every evaluator. There's a part of evaluation that your boss can bring in, maybe say something about your behavior or whatever, and they're the ones who are going to give you recommendation letters to your next boss. So if I were you, I would rather ask, how do I manage my boss instead of how do I manage a jealous boss? And there are skills to managing a boss. Okay, one of them is to acknowledge their position without sucking up to them. Give them the respect due to their position, okay? Even when you think they don't deserve it. And let me share a secret with you. Sometimes you're smarter than your boss, a lot of times actually. The only difference between you and your boss might be that they had the opportunity to be in that position. Or maybe they speak better English than you, better communication, because research has shown that those who make it to managerial roles and leadership roles are usually those who communicate better. So you might have all of the same skills, you might even be better educated, but they were able to present themselves to the panel that they can do the job better than you. And so based on their communication skills, which got them the job, they are your boss, and you have to respect that. So I would rather rephrase that question to, how do I manage my boss? So that you learn how to manage your boss, whether the boss is jealous or not. But for your sake, I will answer a bit of that. I think I did a webinar once, managing your boss. If you check on my YouTube, on my Facebook, I can't remember what year. I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago. I actually did a webinar, managing your boss. It should be my book. But I think Facebook is trying to delete old videos. They sent an email. They have to download them, or they're going to delete them after some time. So learn how to manage your boss. That would be the general thing, not just managing a jealous boss. Learn to make contributions by suggesting and recommending instead of sounding like you know more than them. Your boss knows that you're smarter than him or her, but they don't want you to rub it in their face because they have a position that you have to respect. So you have to learn how to manage your boss, okay? I hope that helps. Respect them and see how you can don't make them look bad in the face of people, even when they miss it. They are the ones to evaluate you, remember. And don't prove that you know too much. Just you are going to shine better with a boss when you actually make recommendations instead of trying to put them down, especially in front of others, okay? So don't make snide comments that show that you know too much. Just say, oh, you've observed this and you would like, to make your contribution if they don't mind. And find a good time. Find out what works for them. Do they like emails? Do they like one-on-one meeting? Do they prefer you to make a phone call or send a proposal or a report? And then to protect yourself, if they're really so jealous and you have an employer over them, make sure that the things you send them, okay? All right, so I guess, I saw a call coming in now. Please send me a text instead. Oh, okay, time. We're done with time. And I'll have to stop sharing right away so that so we are taking questions now and time is gone. Wow, this is one. We've been here for quite a while.
Maybe you might just take one more question.
2 hours. Okay. And if you have other questions you want me, if you can get my WhatsApp number. I'll be happy to answer other questions later. I'm sure Academic Power still has something to tell you, the Click Growth team.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for that robust session. I think if we're listening as much as I was, you must have taken quite a lot of notes, looking at the various nuances that Nancy presented there in terms of, how you can build up your team, things that you shouldn't be doing, and things you should be doing, and, sort of building accountability within your business and making sure that everyone aligns with your KPIs and you're treating everyone equally. There is inclusivity. There isn't any sort of ethnic or religious bias or treating people based on other sort of sentiments that do not align with the core values of your business. I think ultimately the leadership tone is set by those in management, and like she's pointed out. And sometimes if you're a teacher listening or you're an administrator listening, you might be having a lot of fantastic ideas which you're trying to sell to the management, and they're just not seeing it, or they're just not latching on it yet. And I get that can be frustrating. Do not let that bug you off. There are a lot of strategies she shared already within the teaching session, which you might want to take to mind going forward. So I think if you put all those things to mind, then it will definitely help you in being able to, position yourself better and get your ideas accepted by your management. I will be rounding off now. As we come to the end, to the tail end of this event.